So here we are again, View and Spew Review.
We are.
We are.
Just another totally normal, nothing different at all.
Not at all
View and
special
Spew Review.
episode.
No. We randomly picked a movie from the hat that is Powderheads, and coincidentally, just leaping from the screen and into the extra chair, Catherine Mary Stewart, but not credited as Catherine Mary Stewart in Powderheads. It was Kathy
Nursall.
Yeah.
Well,
what is the story behind that?
So the copy that you sent, at the end, I think it said Catherine Mary Stewart, didn't it?
It did. But at the beginning, it didn't.
But at the beginning, it's Kathy Nursall, which is my real name, the name I was born with, I guess. My dad is Ralph Nursall, and my brothers are Alan and John Nursall, and my mom is Mary Nursall. But when I did my the very first movie that I did, The Apple. Yeah, we gotta love that one. We're trying to figure out a screening here.
Oh,
yes.
please.
Right?
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That would
which
be
I
a
would
movie
definitely
party.
come back
Yes.
for. The director, Menachem Golan, who's he's sort of well known in the industry, not in the public necessarily. He's an Israeli director, and he was a very famous Israeli director, actually. And he was trying to break into the American film market with The Apple, which didn't work the way he expected it to. But at any rate, when I was cast in this movie, he was like, "What's his name?" That's how he talked. Everybody imitates Menachem the same way.
Right. It's great when on Electric Boogaloo, it's like everybody had their own
Everybody says it like that,
Right.
because that's the way he was. Even when he was happy, he was like, "Oh, I'm happy now." But he says, "I don't know this name. I can't say this name. Change it." Like that. And I was living in London. I was a dancer, and I'm like, I'm going to be the lead in this movie. And I thought, oh, okay, what should I do? Well, my mother's maiden name is Stewart. She's Mary Stewart, and I'm Catherine Mary Nursall, but I changed it to Catherine Mary Stewart, which I thought was really pretty, and it was a little tip of the hat to my mom. But everybody thinks I'm Catholic, first of all, and I'm a nun, or I get Mary Catherine a lot.
Sure,
Somehow Mary Catherine is sort of, I don't know, people are more familiar with that version. But, it takes up a lot of the screen, so that must be good.
A lot of marquee letters.
Exactly, a lot of marquee letters.
Yeah. And now it's mostly just, CMS is how I...
Right. Well, that's how I usually sign emails and things like that. I'll say CMS. But so when I did Powderheads, I had no sort of concept that this was going to be a career for me at that time. I mean, I did The Apple, and I was literally back in Edmonton, Alberta, where I'm from, for Christmas. And a good friend of mine, even to this day, Betty Chadwick, was a casting person in Edmonton. And this movie was coming to Edmonton to shoot. And she recommended me because I'd done this big feature film overseas. And I was cast in it. And I didn't really, at that point, know what to call myself. Was I going to stick with Catherine Mary? But again, I think at that point, I was still, in my mind, a dancer. I came back from London after shooting the movie, went back to my dance company, and was doing all this stuff. So that's why it was like, yeah, I don't know, I'm just Kathy Nursall. I don't know. So yeah, that's I think the story behind that. It was quite a while ago, but yeah.
As the back of the box says, a semi-religious experience.
Oh, boy.
So, which I'm sure Adam will show on the video for the people who can't see behind the screens here. So, was the making of Powderheads a semi-religious experience?
Oh my God, it was awful. Well, the fun part was the skiing, actually, because we got to, well, I didn't do the stunt skiing.
I don't think anybody did.
No, that was too.
I mean, did it? To me, it seems like a lot of it was. Okay, there's a lot of skiing in this, but the skiing seemed like it was part of Canadian travel. Come and ski Edmonton because it was shot like these vistas. I mean, the cinematography
feels
on
like
it
a
was
different film. Yeah,
right. Well, I was thinking about this when I was watching because I couldn't even get through the whole thing this last time I watched it. It was just like, oh, geez.
We just watched it twice before you got here. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, no, we had it on a loop. It's true.
God.
He's not kidding.
I'm not kidding.
At that time, like the especially in the 70s and the 80s, ski movies were huge, but they were more documentary style. I did a little research. This guy named Warren Miller was like a world-renowned ski cinematographer. And he used to have these epic ski movies with stunt skiing and these professional, they were really cool to watch. I mean, they did incredible stuff. So I think maybe where this came from was kind of riding the back of the popularity of that genre of film.
Well, I could see that too.
Yeah.
If I was a big skier, I would totally be into this in the same way that I love Police Academy 3 because it has skateboarding.
Right.
And at that time, I was maybe 13, 14, and skateboarding was my whole life.
Right.
And I'm like, this is my most favorite movie ever.
Right.
And
Because
then
it had
Gleaming
Tony
the
Hawk
Cube and the Gleaming the Cube.
Gleaming the
changed
Cube, you know,
everything.
Thrashing, you know, all that
Right.
stuff were just like really, really high on my list.
Right, exactly.
And this is the same way with all that skiing.
But they are sort of like two different movies. It's like
Yeah, sure.
weird people talking strange things and thinking they're funny, and then skiing.
Yeah. A lot of skiing.
Was there anything even resembling a script used for this movie? I mean, because a lot of it does kind of
It
feel
really
off the
seems
cuff.
situational.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the lead actor, who's actually a very established Canadian actor. In fact, I
thought he was good.
He was wonderful.
I thought he was really
but
good
I
in
think
that.
a lot of his stuff was sort of ad lib, off the cuff kind of junk. I mean, that's the kind of way he acts as well. Yeah, there was definitely a script, but they were trying to keep it as like kind of up in the air as possible.
Free flowing.
You know, and also because we were such crazy people, you know, oh my gosh. But it was just so
do tell.
silly.
Do
well,
tell.
no, I'm just talking about the story itself that they think is funny, you know, stealing a Christian bus and
Right.
getting totally drunk and then playing these different characters and the stupid cops who try to arrest them and the evil uncle that's trying to try. I mean, it's just like the worst. and it's really embarrassing to watch myself.
It's very Canadian.
Very.
You have everything, you know, Strange Brew at that time. All that
Right.
was just so
I
hot.
think, yeah, they were piggybacking on that, trying to anyway.
You
But,
know, driving drunk. You know, I'm sure there were some Molsons that were being stacked up
for
in the
sure.
back.
Yeah. It was, yeah. I mean, I think like, what's his name? Don Goodspeed. I thought he was pretty good. I thought he was pretty good. I thought David Ferry was pretty good. You know, but I think I was just awful. I just was like, oh my God.
Oh,
Just
no.
kill me now.
You were wonderful, actually. Yeah, no, trust me. You were actually one of the lights of the film. No, I definitely, actually, I think that's probably harder for you to watch it, but I did get some enjoyment. But specifically, and I think, Shawn, you actually timed it.
Yes.
So what's the time count on the pretty much consecutive ski footage?
20 minutes and 1 second breaks up half the movie, which is really what kind of kills the flow.
Yeah, well,
Is that there's like a 6-minute sequence, goes back to 5 minutes of stuff happening, and then a 12-minute plus sequence immediately following that of just ski footage with the prog-rock soundtrack.
That's the thing. Like, I watch it and I'm like, this is like the longest prog-rock skiing music video I've ever seen in my life. And then I'm like, and I was actually texting these guys because I was watching it for the first time. So we didn't actually watch this one together, right? So I'm texting them. I'm like, it's still going. And then it stops. I was like, oh, it's actually over. And then it starts again. I was like, this is maybe the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's truly like two separate
semi-religious experience.
It was a semi, but I would just say not even semi, fully religious experience.
They were just bookends is what the skiing was, you know,
right.
To the situations that the shenanigans that were happening every now and again.
Yeah. I guess like I said, I think they were really trying to tap into that whole, you know, ski documentary style thing, which was very, very popular at the time.
Yeah.
And we shot it in Idaho and also in Jasper, Alberta, which is, I grew up there, so I grew up skiing. So the fun part for me was, you know, in between shots of us standing there at the start line where we go off and then some person in red, skiing on.
Oh, wait, that wasn't you?
No. But we got to ski a little bit in between shots and things like that. Oh, I loved it because it was like top of the line equipment at the time. My K2s, oh boy. They were a little nervous about me skiing because if something happened to me, that wouldn't have been good.
Of course, yeah.
But that was a real fun part of it, for sure.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I've never done downhill.
You haven't?
I grew up in Minnesota, and we did cross country quite a bit. But that's Minnesota. But that's really the most experience I ever had was skiing. But this warning, this narrator.
Oh, right, the warning.
I think it happens 2 times. Twice for the first warnings.
Powderheads, under Section 1C of the new Canadian Constitution, are defined as persons engaged in an activity in a winter recreation area that endangers the hearts, minds, and bodies of any adult in the immediate vicinity. Penalties to a maximum of $50 or 1 year in jail can be levied if the offense involves bad language, loose women, homemade alcohol, South American drugs, religion, loud music, or fast skiing in a restricted area. Any person fraternizing or associating with a suspected powderhead in or around a designated ski resort is subject to life imprisonment. This includes those involved in the viewing of unauthorized movies featuring fast and or reckless skiing sequences. This warning is issued by the Right Honorable Elmo Lillekoshin, LLAA, Minister of Roads, Mountains, and Entertainment for the people of Canada.
I think they were. I get the feeling that like the director and the producer wrote the script and they thought it was hilarious as they were writing.
Right.
It's a good one. We got to put that in there. It's just like, no, it's not good.
South American drugs. Hashtag.
Ooh.
Yeah.
South American drugs.
Yeah.
Bad stuff.
Which is,
Reckless.
I think, of the things that they list, that like the only thing of those warnings that's actually in the film is, maybe that South American drugs. But like, there's like no loose women in the movie at all.
I think that they're just trying. They thought it was funny.
Right.
They just were writing this and thinking, this is so hilarious. This absolutely needs to be in a feature film. And sadly, they were wrong.
How did the release of this go? I mean, was there any sort of press done at the time? I mean, or was this pushed at all? Or
yeah, I remember they did a screening at this big auditorium in Edmonton called the Jubilee Auditorium, and my friends and family, my grandmother was there. I remember at the end of the screening, again, I was so brand new to all this. I did do the Apple, but I had no clue of what I was doing. I was just like, okay, I'll do that now, And I remember the expression on my grandmother's face at the end of the movie, and I was like, so what'd you think? And she was like, she didn't know what to, I don't think she even said anything. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Anyway, but in retrospect, I'm like, oh my gosh, oh poor grandmother, I'm sorry.
Well, little did she know it would be the cult phenomenon that it has become.
Has it though?
Yeah, we are the 3 Americans who have seen this movie.
The cult of 3.
Right. It's so hard to find because no one will relinquish or resell their copy of Powderheads.
Yeah,
it's a must for the collection.
Right.
It's a holy relic.
To bring the narration back around again, all of a sudden the movie just stops.
Oh, yeah.
And then they have this warning.
And then another warning, or kind of a thank you and an apology all at the same time for watching this movie.
You know what it feels
Which
like?
I
It
kind
feels
of
like
appreciate,
when you're
but-
like writing something on a piece of paper and you get to the end and then you like kind of like write down.
And it's illegible.
Yeah,
So it goes,
yeah. That's how
and
the
then I thought it was
Right. It's like, oh boy, we have to end the movie now. So I guess we'll just cut to more skiing and do a voiceover.
Yeah, we couldn't figure. I think we were talking earlier that whether or not just ran out of footage, ran out of time,
Right.
ran out of money.
Yeah, that's
Because
why
all you have to do is just have the crawl that's and then the narrator saying thanks for coming, bye, see you later.
I don't think
This is what happened.
they had to avoid any more of those $50 fines.
I didn't want to bankrupt the country, for Pete's sake.
Right.
Yeah, I thought.
How did the story end? I don't even. I watched it like
it just ended.
It ended on the skiing, right?
The ski race happens, and the narration explains what happens to everybody in the rest of their lives.
Yes,
right.
And that it was.
Wait, there was wasn't there? Oh no, they had some flashback things, didn't they? Me looking angry with my uncle in the background.
And I believe he became a pig farmer.
Oh, okay, yes, okay.
I don't know how that fit in with the rest of the movie
again
at all.
Hilarious.
You gotta put that in there. Gosh, that is brilliant.
I got it. She becomes a pig farmer. Nailed it.
Right. So was that in a script, or did they come up with that? That's where
again, I think that there probably was a script, but I think it was just a couple of guys thinking they were so funny.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, and then probably influenced by something.
What did you?
Chemical.
Okay, so you did Powderheads. I don't even know if you can really dive in any deeper into the minutia of Powderheads. What was that? I mean, like you said, you went into it with a little bit of naivete and nonchalant, something for kicks and to get the experience. Where do you go from there? Like you said, you didn't know if you wanted to act or not, but then you have the resume of The Apple, which critically was not a success. And then Powderheads, which I guess you could say wasn't like a big,
I'm not sure in terms of, to answer your question before, distribution and stuff, I don't think it went very far, put it that way.
Yeah. So then where did you go from there? Like Powderheads and then...
Right. So I got a phone call from Menachem, my good friend Menachem Golan from Canon Films. They were going to be shooting another movie in L.A., and he said, I want you to star in it, so come to L.A. I'm like, okay. It was called Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hype, I think, or something that. And I said, great, I'll come down there. So I packed all my junk up, and I got to the airport, and they said, and why are you going to the United States? Because you have to go through immigration or whatever in Edmonton before you get to L.A. I said, I'm going to be doing a movie. I think, oh, excellent. Do you have your work permit? And I'm like, work permit? I'm like, well, I'm sure they have one for me down there. No, you need to have a work permit if you're going to be working there before you enter the country. I'm like, go figure. Yeah. I'll have to make a call. They wouldn't let me into the country. Wow. So I called up Menachem and said, they asked me for a work permit. And he says, you told them that you were going to work on a movie? Why would you do that? And I'm like, because that's what I was going to do. Right. I don't know. I'm supposed to so I didn't know. Again, naive. I was naive for a very long. I'm still naive, for Pete's sake. But yes, I didn't know anything. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. I didn't know that there were rules about working. Nothing. So they had to make the movie without me. So I didn't end up going down there. At that time, but I learned my lesson, and I did end up flying down to L.A. and just seeing what it was all about. I wasn't sure if I was going to stay or not. But The Apple was a great starter for me, for sure. It was a good springboard because even though it was certainly not, embraced critically, I was the lead in a feature film, and that meant a lot.
Right out the gate, too.
Right out of the gate, yeah. So I ended up getting an agent quite quickly and going out on auditions, and I was of the age, where I was basically the new meat in town, the young ingenue, new face who'd done some work, and there was a lot of good positive response. Unfortunately, I ended up getting married and getting a green card so that I could work. That helped enormously because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to work. But and from there, I, did a couple of small things, and then I got on Days of Our Lives, and that kind of, that started me. I think what really springboarded me in town was The Last Starfighter.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Powderheads was indirectly, actually, brought up by you on your Facebook page.
Oh, it was?
And that's what kind of started us on the hunt down for this
so
videotape.
Funny.
So we could all watch it. So that came from that.
Okay.
And Powderheads is not a
No, I think coincidentally, I already had it. I already had the VHS.
Oh, okay.
You asked me if I could find it, or that you were. I don't know. I don't remember the specific conversation. But then I had it, and then coincidentally, maybe not even a month later, or a couple weeks later, you mentioned, "Oh, good luck trying to find this movie from my past."
Yeah, yeah.
And before the sentence was even done, you mean this movie?
This one?
Yeah,
that started this journey.
Oh, Catherine Mary Stewart, America's sweetheart, graced us with her presence on View and Spew.
Yeah.
We're so grateful.
Here at the Alamo, you're getting ready for your back-to-back screenings of Powderheads.
Yep.
Oh no!
Are you excited?
Powderhead.
We fooled you. We said it, and the audience. They all think they're going to see Last Starfighter, but we're throwing Powderheads on the screen.
Oh yeah, it's happening.
See, you weren't supposed to say anything until it actually happened, because she does have an exit strategy if she wants one.
I do.
Darn it.
It's called like Ober, you know. Get me out of here.
But of course, by the time you watch this, you know the events that unfold today will be over. But it is a Last Starfighter and Night of the Comet on 35 millimeter. Just very excited that we set this up probably almost a year ago.
Yeah, we did.
And and hopefully we can get you back for another screening.
Yeah,
it looks
I'd
like
love
you're
to.
having a
This
blast
has been
here.
so much fun.
Good.
It really has been fun.
Yeah.
Everybody's been terrific.
Excellent.
And, everybody's so nice and receptive, and yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to come back, do a little photo signing, or meet and greet and Q&A.
Yeah, I need to see the Apple on the big screen. I just am putting that out there into the
Absolutely.
universe.
It is.
I've never seen it on the big screen.
Oh yeah,
Something to behold.
I've never seen that at the Comet on the big screen, so I'm super excited for that.
that's
Yeah, big time. Awesome.
Yeah. So it was a pleasure, guys. Thanks.
Thank
What
you.
do you have coming up? Just real
Yeah.
quick, if you want to, do you want to plug anything for a Christmas
Speaking-
movie, something or other that I've heard?
Yes.
Christmas. Yeah, speaking of genres, completely different genres. This one is called. It's actually when this airs, it won't. It will have been on, but hopefully they'll have it in rotation or something. But it's called A Rock and Roll Christmas. With Beverly Mitchell, who was in Seventh Heaven for years and years. And I guess she was in Saw 2. Apparently, which is, that's a dichotomy right there. And I get to sing again.
Nice.
I play the mother of a mother-daughter singing duo. She's my daughter. 15 years ago, we were super popular, and then we have a falling out, and we haven't seen each other for 15 years. And the beginning of the movie is where we're kind of tricked into being on stage together again for the first time in a long time. And we think we're going there for solo performances, but it's sold out. So we end up on stage, and we're like, what are you doing here? But we have to perform, and everybody loves it. And we end up cutting a Christmas album together. And it's bumpy and messy and lots of anger and resentment. But of course, believe it or not, we figure it out and we learn to forgive.
It's a Christmas miracle.
That's
It's a Christmas miracle. And it's the granddaughter who sort of brings us all together. It's her Christmas wish that we spend Christmas together as a family.
That's awesome.
But it's actually it's a little bit different. Of course, they have to do all that stuff, but it definitely is has a slightly different arc, I guess, to the story than the classic Christmas movies. And that's what attracted me to it, frankly, is I get to sing. We recorded a couple of original songs.
Awesome.
We sing some traditional Christmas carols, but I feel at home on stage. My foundation is as a dancer performing on stage and acting on stage. And so getting up there and getting to sing in front of an audience, a live audience.
There's nothing like that.
I just reveled in every moment of that. So
where can we see this one?
It's on Up TV. You'll have to look up what provider you have for that particular. There's quite a few of them. I listed on my Facebook page, Catherine Mary Stewart, on Facebook. That's the best place to find me and see what it is I'm up to these days. I'm also on Twitter. My handle I'm just learning all
Nailed
this.
it.
Yes. It's CMSALL, but hashtag Catherine Mary Stewart. And I'm on Instagram. And I have a website, a very messy website, but you can check it out, CatherineMaryStewart.com.
And all of this, I'm sure, is magically appearing on the screen right now as well.
Oh, yeah.
No pressure.
I love the talent. Yeah, check it out. But I'm also getting into directing more. And I directed a short film that I wrote a year or so ago, and I just loved that. So I presently have a script that I wrote with a partner and a producer, and we're sort of passing that around at the moment, which I would direct and star in. And I'm also developing a play that I'm going to direct.
Awesome.
So that I have producers in LA that are working with me on that. So yeah, I'm getting into that kind of thing more. Excellent. I'm still acting, however, I'm out there, and on TV on Sunday, November 10th, on Up TV.
Perfect.
Amazing.
Set your DVRs for it.
Yeah.
And look for it for when it re-airs, since the 10th will be past.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I'm sure
it's a Christmas movie. They're probably going to run it multiple times throughout November.
And it'll, I'm sure, get on to Netflix and things like that. I mean, movies like that, if they're on a network like that, almost always get distribution on streaming. So yeah, I'm sure people will be able to find it.
I also did another Christmas, just to throw this in there in case it's in rotation. A couple of years ago, I did one for Hallmark called A Nutcracker Christmas. But what was so cool about that for me was it revolved around the Nutcracker, the ballet, and dancing.
Cool.
And I think they really did a great job of recording the classical ballet scenes, because that's not easy to do, and some people don't do it very well. So that was I just loved doing that. We shot that in Toronto with the National Ballet of Canada. So that was pretty cool. And Amy Acker.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. So thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye. They're not as mean as they look.
It's true. We're very lovable. CMS says so. It's true.
We, the producers, regret that we are unable to continue this race because certain scenes containing fast skiing, bad language, and extensive nudity are offensive to the people of Canada. We can say, however, that Belinda finished 83rd and returned home with Uncle S.D., and after a long bout with drug abuse, is living a quiet life slaughtering pigs at a hot dog factory. Pork Chop, our fat friend, also returned home. After spending 10 days in Sun Valley, Porky underwent extensive surgery to correct facial damage following a bad accident involving a large European woman with a wild imagination. Joey finished second in the race. However, he was disqualified when officials discovered he had squeezed his pimples with an addictive antibiotic cream only 3 hours before the race. Stryker was also disqualified. As he approached the finish gate, he took his clothes off, lit himself on fire, and began chanting, "Oh God, let go of my ears. I know my job." Race officials ruled that assistance from God in a ski race is considered an unfair advantage. Today, Stryker remains a powderhead, living in seclusion in somewhere else, Idaho.